Hello, welcome to episode 6 of Live Talk with Code.uk Season 2, where we're covering the basics of Python, and this week we're working on different data types. So, in the code that we'll build up in this video, that you'll see for all of the challenges linked in the description for this video, it asks you how many hours you spend on your smartphone. Now, the average in America is over 5 hours. In this country, the average is about 3.5 hours. But for teenagers, it goes up to about 4 hours. So I don't know how you compare to that. So our program is going to be able to do some calculations with the input that the user types in, and it's going to round it and convert it to a percentage as well. So remember that you can find links to the kpride and the type race and the extension activities in the description to this video. The extension activities this week are continuing along the theme of the Python Basics series, where you can get points for working through the try it, the debug it, and the extend it challenges, all linked to data types. This is supposed to be live coding, so the idea is we go through how the code works rather than just presenting you with the final product. So in the first video, we worked through the first episode of this series. We talked through how to ask a question. So we'll start with that. How many hours do you spend on your smartphone per day? So there's no point asking a question if your program doesn't do anything with the answer. So I think in the second episode we talked about variables, and we'll store that in a variable called hours. I would like to be able to do some maths with it. So I'd like to be able to calculate a fraction of the day. So if we do the number of hours they say that they've spent on a smartphone, divide that by 24 and we'll get a fraction. Problem is, when we try and run this, it crashes because we can't divide the answer to a question, a string, some text, by an integer number, a whole number. So that's because when you type something in here, the answer to input, the return value from the input Python function, is a string, is some text. And we need to convert it to a different data type. So there's a couple of ways of doing that, depending on what data we want. I'm going to convert it to a whole number, an integer, to begin with, which means it's not going to crash anymore, because Python does know how to convert how to divide an integer by another integer, which means that we can display the result. So we should see the fraction in here, or we can say that's, and then that fraction of the day. Let's have a look. Oops, I need a comma in there. So that's 0.16 reoccurring of the day. If we want to customize like the spaces and everything like that, sometimes it's helpful to concatenate rather than pass all of these as separate parameters to the print function. So if we join these together, concatenate them with a plus, at this point we've got an error because Python says it doesn't know how to concatenate, which means join some text, a string, with a float, as in a fractional number. So we kind of need to do the opposite of int, which converted this to a whole number, an integer. And we'll do that by converting the fraction back into a string. So the fraction goes in the brackets, that's the thing we're converting, and we're converting it to a string. There we go. So let's put some spaces back in here. There we go. And then the next thing I'd like to do is calculate that as a percentage. Oops, can't spell. So we'll take the fraction and we'll multiply by 100, and then we'll display this. Oops. Which is, and then the percentage. Oh, and then I can just put a % sign. So notice that when you use a comma, it's a lot easier because you don't have to convert it to a different data type. The problem is the comma's put in spaces, and you don't always want those spaces. I want that % symbol to be right next to the number, which means I'm going to have to do it with pluses instead of commas. But that means it's going to crash unless I first of all convert this float, this fractional number, into a string so that it can be concatenated, which means joined together with that string and that string there. Fab. So we're almost there. I just want an extra space here, and I'd like to round this to 1 decimal place. So that's the extra space. Let's round it to 1 decimal place. Fab. So let's put some challenges on here for you to work through. So first of all, can you change it so that the percentage symbol, the percentage is shown to 2 decimal places? You'll just need to change this parameter here. Can you make a new variable which works out how many hours per year you spend on your smartphone? So you'll just need to multiply the hours per day by 365. And then you can display the results. So it says in 1 year you spend however many hours on your phone. So remember, you can find all the links to the support resources that link to this code on live.withcode.uk, or if your school's signed up for the free competitions, you can compete against your friends and your teachers can track your progress on compete.withcode.uk. Thanks very much. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.